In this video, I will show how to use the core NLP Gender annotator GUI, which allows us to know the frequency of gender values and gender words of our input. For this video, I will use one of our sample documents in the lib/sample data directory of my installed NLP suite, the girl on the train. Once we have opened this GUI, we can see on the top line where we can select our input and output directory. Basically, the NLP suite provides us with three alternative options. The first one is to annotate nouns and pronouns gender, and this is enabled by the core NLP gender annotator and by the neural network. Once we click and run the first option, it generates multiple output files. Note that usually these charts all come from different files, but for this video's convenience I merged them together. And the first chart is a frequency distribution of gender values, in which we can see the female and male are two different gender values, and their frequency distribution and the difference are shown here. The second chart is the frequency distribution of gendered words, in which the NLP gives several different gender words show up in our input, such as her and Rachel. And the third chart is the frequency distribution of gender words by gender. Here we can see the output in which the names and the pronouns are colored differently, and the red color corresponds to female and the blue color corresponds to male. Now that we come back to our main page of this GUI, we can select the second option, which is to annotate first names by gender, and this is enabled by the dictionary file, and we can select our dictionary file at the little button here, from which it will direct us to our lib/namesGender directory, and we can select the files in it as our dictionary file. And here I select the census CSV file. The census CSV file should look something like that, from which we can see some basic columns such as name, frequency, cumulative frequency, and rank and gender. This will help the NLP to annotate first name via gender. We can see our output in a HTML page, where different gender words are colored differently. Red corresponds to female and blue for male. Note that since we select the second option, which is to annotate first names, pronouns here will not be colored. But if we go back to our first option and click on it, the output file will show the pronouns to be colored, such as here the her will be colored in red. Once we go back to the main page, and we can select the third option, which is to process names via USSS. And at the little drop-down menu here, we can select whether we want to display our output by state, year of birth, or both state and year of birth. And here we can enter the names that we want to search in our input. If we want to download the most up-to-date first name database, we can open the US Social Security website by clicking on this button here. And after we download it, we are able to generate the new US Social Security files that would be useful for our algorithm. After we click on the Open USSS website, we will be directed to this website where we can see here are the national data, state-specific data, and the territory-specific data. And the first one corresponds to the national-wide, and the second one corresponds to the state-specific. We can download these two, and we will be able to use by clicking on the chat box to convert them to files that will be useful for the algorithm. In general, the gender annotator helps us to get the frequency distribution of gender values and gender words in our input, from which we can open the files and see the names and pronouns and other nouns, they both correspond to gender, and we can find the sentence in which they're located, and we can know the sentence context, and we can know which document they are in,